welcome to the GoodTalk podcast, the show that aims to inspire positive change around the world. I'm your host, Francesca Hodgson, co-founder of Goodbox, a tech for good company helping non-profits with their digital fundraising. We're best known for our tap to give contactless donation points, and to all our donors and budding volunteers, a huge thank you. In this series, we'll be exploring how mission-led organisations and individual acts of kindness can make a huge difference. Today, I have the honour of speaking with Alderman William Russell. William is the 692nd Lord Mayor of the City of London and the only Lord Mayor since 1861 to have served 2 consecutive terms in office. At a challenging time encompassing both Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic, we're here to speak with the Lord Mayor directly to find out more about his invaluable work promoting change within the City of London. So welcome, William.
Thank you very much, Francesca. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. And so, Lord Mayor, it's such an honour to have you, and there's so much we could talk about, but for our listeners and for context, I'd really like you to explain kind of firsthand about the role of the Lord Mayor, about yourself and what it's like to be the Lord Mayor of the City of London.
Well, the role of the Lord Mayor is really the ambassador for financial and professional services for the whole of the UK that employs about 2.3 million people. And in normal times, I would travel 100 days of the year, and Francesca, you've been on one of those trips with me, promoting the whole sector around the world and taking delegates with me in some cases, other cases really just establishing strong relationships with various countries. I happen to have got to the Gulf a bit more before COVID came than other areas, but I also went to the US. Sadly, I haven't travelled anywhere else, but I can tell you I've been travelling virtually more than any other Lord Mayor, and we worked out, or the team worked out, that from March 2020 to March this year, I've done over 1,500 Zoom calls, and that just has, if any, has widened the knowledge of what the mayoralty is about. So that's really my role. I think the most powerful element of the mayoralty is that soft convening power when you can bring people together. I often use the phrase that, I'm really happy taking people into the room, and then I walk out of the room and let those people talk and work out deals and whatever it is that they can do. As Lord Mayor, well, it's just a massive privilege. And I think, as you said, it hasn't been the last time that there was a double mayoralty was back in the 1861, and it was William Cubitt, who was the building firm, who has the Cubitt town on the Isle of Dogs still exists, which he built. And I'm told he was re-elected for a second year because of his largesse and generosity to the livery and the banquets he held. So all I can say is I'm probably the cheapest Lord Mayor there's ever been, because we haven't had any of those banquets at all. But no, look, it's a huge privilege. I love the history, and I love the idea that you can affect change. And to be frank, to have 2 years to affect changes, it makes it easier.
Fantastic, thank you. And 1,500 Zoom calls is quite a record. And so whatever inspired you to think, I want to be the Lord Mayor of the City of London, or for anybody listening, thinking, how does one go about being the Lord Mayor of the City of London? Can you give us any insight into the road to get to your position?
Sure. So what I'm slightly inspired by, I was hugely inspired by my family having been Lord Mayors previously. I was 4 years old, my grandfather was Lord Mayor, and I always looked up to him and what he achieved. But I think more than that, it was around what I had got from the city and how lucky I'd been working in the city. I worked in Hong Kong and America, but I also worked here in the Square Mile. In fact, I worked for Merrill Lynch on the site of where Christ Hospital was until Christ Hospital moved out to Horsham in Sussex, which is one of those outstanding schools. So, I'm a haberdasher, and if you're members of livery companies, you get very involved in the city. And haberdashers is really more, rather than about haberdashery, which was our trade, is more about education. We have schools and academies around the country. And I just I had to get the buy-in from the Lady Mayoress, Hilary, my wife, because it's so full on. And we were leaving the Haberdashers' Hall, and she pointed. This was back in October 2012. She pointed to the last Haberdasher Lord Mayor, my grandfather, sitting in Bowater, and she said there could be a lot of what ifs. And I said, well, we talked about this many times, and you said you weren't really that interested. And she said, well, if you don't try, we'll never know. So look, I tried, and I got lucky. But in order to become Lord Mayor, there are 25 wards in the square mile, and you need to be elected an alderman. So I would encourage anyone particularly with financial services knowledge, because what's happening is financial professional services is such a critical part of the city, and and is 10% of the tax take for the whole of the UK, that it really now needs to be, where possible, Lord Mayors who have that knowledge, whether it's insurance, whether it's maritime, whether it's law, whether it's asset management, across the board. But anyone can do that. All I would say is it's a big commitment, but there are lots of pluses with it, and you meet, if you like meeting people and trying to help and change things for the better, then no better thing than being Lord Mayor. But and of course, I jokingly, as you see with my background, say, you live in the smartest council house in the country.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And, as you say, it's such a wonderful historic place, the City of London, with a real heart of a community. And, when I look at the City of London, it is really, for me, almost at the heart of the UK economy as well. And this last year has been such a turbulent time with the COVID-19 pandemic, and everybody's worlds have been turned upside down in one shape or another. And what stands out particularly, of course, is the way in which we all work. So the working from home environment, and so that huge demographic shift that must have gone on for the City of London itself. And so I'm really keen to speak to you about what the future of the City of London holds. As an eternal optimist myself, I'm always so inspired around the concept that change can promote opportunity in the most beautiful and unexpected ways. And so what do you think the City of London holds from this day forward?
Well, you and I have two things in common. We're both Aries and we're both optimists. And I agree with you that, whatever happens, and our world has been turned upside down, but whatever happens, this great city will not only survive, it will thrive. Because look at our history, we've innovated forever. Whether it's after the Fire of London, whether it's the Blitz, whether it's the Big Bang, it's an incredible place. However, the reality is things have changed. And does that mean, I'm not sure whether I know what the future holds. My gut feel is more people will come back to the office than everyone's predicting at the moment, just because I think people need that collaborative work environment, but also human beings are ultimately social animals. I say on many of my Zoom calls, there's no such thing as an open door policy on Zoom. And particularly the younger generation. How are they going to learn? They can learn quite a lot from, those conversations by the water cooler or in the pub or the wine bar at the end of the day, and say, how did you do that? And am I doing okay? And just, things that can help, particularly, as I say, the young. But it looks like the majority view is that we're going to go to this hybrid model, which could be 3 days a week, could be 2 days a week. However, I think the city will change a lot as well. We're going to create more open spaces. We will just reopen now on April the 12th, and the al fresco dining has gone to another level. I don't think we'll quite like Soho at the moment, but where all the restaurants are full. Unfortunately, the weather, it's a bit chilly at night, but it's not sort of pouring with rain, and that helps. And so I think that will build, and then on May the 17th, we'll get people to be able to go inside the restaurants. So you can see a sort of a momentum, but also when people come into the city, so let's say they're working from their office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, many people, I think, will come in on the Tuesday morning and maybe spend a couple of nights in a hotel. and try and go out on a Tuesday night to the theatre, to the Barbican, and take in the culture and the arts. Or, I mean, one of the things that I always love doing, which I just did this morning because I had a break, is walking down the Thames from here down to Westminster Bridge. There's such a vibrant a river and what's going on, and people are coming out. I mean, it's not as crowded as it would be if we had tourists coming to town. But so I think, you know, there will be change. We aren't going to have the 525,000 people coming in to the city every day that we had in February 2019. It will be a slow build, but as I said, I'm confident that the city will survive and thrive. You know, to give you an example, planning permission has been given in the eastern cluster of the city, which is sort of around Leadenhall Market, to 80% of the square footage that we gave planning permission for the whole of last year. And that's just in the first quarter. So you can see there's an optimism that for people to build big offices because they're going to get filled up. And a number of the companies I've spoken to say, well, we admit we probably cram people in too much, so we're keeping our space and we're just making it more spacious and more collaborative than we had before.
Wow, fantastic. And certainly I can't wait to experience some of that al fresco dining. And actually, it gets me the sense that as a young kind of fintech startup, what it will allow is for more inclusion, for more innovation, for younger businesses to come in. I've seen schemes across the city where large corporations are now subletting their office space to smaller, younger stage businesses. So I, for one, am super excited about what the future can hold, and would totally agree with you that we are all social human beings and everybody is just champing at the bits, waiting for an opportunity where we can safely interact in person again. So that's really, really encouraging to hear. And so I touched on there kind of about the fintech community or about the startup community. And as you mentioned earlier, we first met on a trade delegation trip to San Francisco, promoting investment from the US into the UK and into our wonderful fintech arena. And you yourself are also an advisor for Innovate Finance. And so I'm keen just to touch a little bit on the fintech sector specifically, because it is so incredible to see so many amazing startups in that space in the UK at this time. And almost to some extent, these startups have been enabled to some degree by the pandemic, because it's allowed them to be almost on a level playing field in terms of kind of costs and overheads of working with some of the larger organizations. So I'm just keen to hear a little bit more about your work in fintech specifically, and what you can foresee the future for the UK and for UK fintechs.
Well, as you can imagine, hugely optimistic about fintechs. I mean, it's been one of our great sectors. And, you know, I always say I was a Remainer, but not a Ramona. And, you know, we had all these predictions of a massive jobs moving out of London, and some have, don't get me wrong. But a lot of the jobs that have been created is because of the fintech sector. And you know that we've been very beneficial around the regulator, who's been very cooperative, and that continues. And what I like about fintech is not just London, it's the whole of the UK. We are the fintech, when I'm on calls, I say we are the fintech centre of the world. And, you know, there are 146 fintechs in Scotland, but, you know what's going on in Leeds and Manchester and Northern Ireland. And it's just become a very big trademark for the UK, and people want to learn from us, and we have helped the rest of the world. But, you know, we've now got our unicorns, and they're doing incredibly well. And now we've had the Khalifa Review, which is promoting the next stage for fintech, and we're going to get TransferWise, or Wise now as it's called, listing as well. And look, it's a very exciting moment for fintech. And you're absolutely right. COVID-19 has brought forward that digitization for all of us by, I mean, people say 18 months, I think it's even more than that. And we've had to adapt, but also in a way, we have shown as the city and as a nation that, you know, working from home, and for the city, working from home has almost been too successful. Hence, it's pretty quiet out there because everyone can keep working from home very well. And that's partly to do with what we're doing around fintech. But, you know, fintech is also, people know, is more that is, you know, reg tech. It's it's insurtech. I mean, there are just so many things that come under the fintech label. And the final thing I'll say is that the next big movement for us in the city and the UK is around green finance. And I want us to become the green finance center of the world. And I think we're doing a pretty good job at leading that as well. And then we've got the G7 and the COP26 to really shout about that. I'm doing a whole lot around finance. We need green finance to sort out climate change. So it's financing green, and greening finance is the next big area as well.
Fantastic. And it's so super exciting to hear about all of this future innovation. And I can personally attest, as a founder of a fintech startup, how incredible it is to be in the UK at this point in time, with all of the support from the likes of yourselves, accelerator networks. It just seems that there is an abundance of support out there for startups. So that's really encouraging to hear. And of course, I should probably mention that it is UK FinTech Week, is it not?
It is, absolutely. You beat me to it, but you're right, it is.
Fantastic. So then, as the Lord Mayor, one of your objectives is to promote a rich and vibrant cultural and creative economy. And what stands out for me is the sheer amount of effort and time that you personally give up to support non-profit organisations. And of course, we should talk about your City Giving Day. So please just tell us a little bit more about the various roles that you've had in the past, about charity trustees, and when it comes to nonprofits, what inspires you to get involved?
So I count myself incredibly lucky and fortunate that I've had the life I've had, and having gone privately educated, paid for by my grandfather, I've always wanted to give something back, and you either have that guilt or that challenge, or something that you always want to try and give back. When I left the city in 2006, I had more time, and I saw an advert in the FT for a trustee of prostate cancer charity, as it was called then, and I applied. And having worked at Merrill Lynch, I heard I got the trustee spot. I beat someone from Goldman Sachs, so that really pleased me. But anyway, and the rest led to becoming chairman of Prostate Cancer UK. But it was just a great opportunity to give something back and get involved, and we rolled up all the other sort of prostate charities, and now we've got Prostate Cancer UK as it is today. And they were very lucky because we had Movember, which I'm sure you remember. So you got far too many pictures of me with my moustache every November or Movember time, and they did a great job, the Movember team, and it gave a huge amount of money to prostate cancer. And it was, and then with Place to Be, I'm deputy chairman of that, the mental health charity, and that's one of the charities that the Lord Mayor's Appeal has. And the Lord Mayor's Appeal, for those who don't know, is the sort of the charity for the Lord Mayor, but we raise money for a number of charities, and that's Place to Be, the Samaritans, and I'm here in the Mansion House. Samaritans was founded in St Stephen's Walbrook, just literally 100 yards from here. And then Onside Youth Zone, and then the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and which is very poignant at the moment, and that's going to, and there are 4 great charities, and just by chance, I think it would be fair to say they've all been critical charities during COVID-19, because a lot of them are around a lot more people committing suicide. With the Samaritans, mental health issues, and Onside Youth Zone is very good for youth, and giving them a place to go and a place to talk. And then everyone knows all about the Duke of Edinburgh Award and what they do. So we do that. And then we have City Giving Day, as you mentioned, Francesca, and that is every September. And City Giving Day, all the corporates in the city, we hope, will sign up. And our aim is to have 692 this year. That's for obvious reasons, the 692nd Lord Mayor. And I think we're already at pretty close to 500. And there's a big momentum going on around City Giving Day, and everyone, we sort of paint the city red, so to speak, and it's a great opportunity for everyone with all the city businesses to give to their various charities, not necessarily to the Lord Mayor's Appeal charities, but to their charities, and show how generous and philanthropic the city really is.
That's fantastic. And this is a topic I'm particularly passionate about, as you may know, founding GoodBox. and having worked for 10 years prior to founding GoodBox in a corporate social responsibility role within the city. And so I know just how much value can be created for our communities and for our non-profit causes through the work of businesses. And so what I'm kind of keen to discuss today is, how do you think that may change post-pandemic? Do you think that there will be a shift in the way in which we fundraise? Certainly we've seen that people are being quicker to adopt new forms of digital strategies so that they can have a wider reach with their donors, or particularly just share more information about their causes. You touched upon mental health, and absolutely that's such an important topic at this point in time. So yeah, fundamentally, do you see a shift? Do you see that there'll be emphasis in the way in which corporates can support non-profit causes? How do we really champion corporate social responsibility again once more?
Well, I hope there is a shift, and a positive shift, because the younger generation, when they, and I put you in that bracket, Francesca, the younger generation, when you do things with a social purpose. And that social purpose is really important. So when they're looking to join various companies, it's not about how much money they're going to earn. And in the days when, to be frank, when I was at university, we'd all come down to the city to work in the city, because that's where all the excitement is. Now all the excitement seems to be like in the fintech sector, but the entrepreneurial sector, like yourselves. People all want to start up their own business, which I think is absolutely brilliant. But the social purpose is really important, and I do see a change. And I also totally agree with the digitization that's happened. That has changed. So I'll give you a good example. Every year there was something called the Lord Mayor's Big Curry Lunch that takes place at Guildhall. And this year it was meant to be in April, and for obvious reasons didn't take place. But they all went online. And Michael Hockney, who runs it, has told me the other day that they have this digital media partner, and the digital media has reported about that over 2 million people have got involved in the Lord Mayor's Big Curry Lunch over the period that they're doing these online cooking curries. I think Prue Leith is this week. I'm not able to do it, but the Lady Mayoress and my daughter are doing it. And suddenly people from around the country know about the Big Curry Lunch that they would never have known about it before. So the reach has got bigger. And I think that's one of the big positives of COVID-19 is reaching out to people and getting people from around the world interested in things that they'd probably never heard of before. And I, as I said, I hope that sort of charitable coming together around COVID-19 continues, and that we don't lose that social purpose. I don't think we will. I generally believe that there's a lot of good that's come from COVID-19 despite the tragedy, and hopefully we hang on to a great many of those positive things that have happened.
Well, I'm so excited and so encouraged to hear that. That's staggering facts around the Big Curry Lunch, and long may it continue. So we should talk probably a little bit more about plans for 2021 City Giving Day in September. I know that we've just had the breakfast launch for today, not for today, but for this year. And I wanted just to know a little bit more about anything new in the pipeline.
Well, I think you've still got all the various activities, and whether it's the treasure hunt and the quiz and the long lunch that takes place just down here near the Mansion House. And a lot of different companies are going to come up with their own ideas. As you may know, in June, I have to abseil down 22 Bishopsgate. Francesca, you're incredibly welcome to join me. Look, I need all the company I can get, so I'm asking many people to join. It's very high, just to warn you, but anyone who would like to join me on the abseil, even though it's not part of the City Giving, but it is raising money for the Lord Mayor's Appeal. But the City Giving Day, we hopefully will be in person rather than virtual. Yeah, I think there are a lot of plans afoot, a lot of companies coming up with different ideas. And as you may know, City Giving Day has already been done by Birmingham, and I know Manchester are keen potentially to do it this September as well. COVID has slightly slowed the rollout of City Giving Day to other cities, but I think that there's every intention that those two cities will follow suit.
That's fantastic to hear. And do you have to train to abseil down a building of that height?
The only training I will do is putting on a blindfold and probably not. I just don't want to look down. But no, I'm told there are 3 different ropes, and I'll be fine. But if you don't like heights like myself, it's a long way down.
That is an incredible challenge to be signed up for, considering you don't like heights. Well, I wish you the best of luck and definitely consider joining you for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure. I'll make sure that Caroline Wright knows that you might be keen to join me.
I can run marathons, but abseil, we'll see. Fantastic. And so then, you've spent so much of your valuable time today just to speak to us, and we're really, really grateful. Is there any kind of key messages that you'd like to touch on at this time? Anything that we haven't discussed about the future of the City of London?
No, I mean, look, as you can tell, the history and what the city stands for, and that ecosystem that you know so well through your fintech experience, is second to none. And you can't just transport that to any other city in the world. So I am very confident about the city going forward. And you mentioned the culture and the arts. That is incredible what we have. I'm on the board of the Barbican and the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. And Barbican's opening May the 17th, and that's coming back. And in a way, culture and commerce, I chaired a culture and commerce task force, talking about how we can get commerce and cultural coming together. And coming back to the younger generation, they want that creativity and that culture as part of their business life. And you know that, and look what you've done with your creativity. So I'm very confident. You can't just bury that history. It's here with us forever. And as I sort of walk around the city and look at the various views of St. Paul's Cathedral, I always look in awe at that view, because I always say, how did that cathedral survive the Blitz? And it did, and it's the most remarkable building. But we have lots of remarkable buildings, and we have a great, as I said, ecosystem here, and we're very lucky. And we'll continue to build on that and continue to make London, the City of London, the greatest city in the world.
That's fantastic, and just so compelling to hear that, and also about the wider reach that really the pandemic's enabled for the City of London. So it's not just about the place, but about the impact that it can generate for the whole of the UK and beyond. So super exciting times, and quite possibly maybe I'll see you in June for an abseil.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Francesca.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Very good to see you.
You too. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
You've been listening to the GoodTalk podcast, the show that aims to inspire positive change around the world. I've been your host, Francesca Hodgson, co-founder of Goodbox. And for all of today's show notes and guest bios, please visit our website, www.goodbox.com/podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, goodbye.